Well, hi, Lizzy. How are you doing?
I'm well, Joe. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. And, folks, for those of you who are sharp enough, early enough to get on as you're starting out, thank you very much for visiting us once again. A reminder the purpose of this program is Lizzy is, and I still don't have correct what you do. I know when I say holistic coach, that doesn't work for you conceptually. Could you again define what you do? Because I keep losing track.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm a transformational coach and yoga and meditation instructor. And so that's where the holistic comes in because
Right.
I really bring stress management tools into my work. I find that a lot of people struggle with a lot of the things that are based on having a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress out there, and
Fair
people
enough.
can't start to really live their life of their dreams if they're stressed out all the time.
In fact, folks, Lizzy may, my role is, and I think you're a consultant also in addition to a coach, yes, if I understand correctly?
Trainer, teacher, yep.
Okay, fair enough. And I still can't get the wording correct. For those, back to homework again, for those who are looking at us for the first time live or on the replay side, we are visible in Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You do have to be signed in, of course, to each one of them, including through Google for YouTube to be able to leave comments. At one point, some of you may have tried before and you couldn't make it happen. It was a glitch on my end, and I apologize for that. I think I've straightened it out. If not, email me. My link is below, along with Lizzie's link is below also. So we can get this straight because I need your help. I'm a left brain kind of guy. We've been doing this for what, 19 times? Let's throw that ticker up and show what it's all about.
All right.
And I still am confused about the terminology of what she does and what she stands for, but the people I know who I respect think very highly of her. So there's got to be something to her I've yet to figure out. So the purpose of these episodes is for me to get a sense of understanding, if possible, to what is this yin and yang thing, because I'm a left brain kind of guy. And Lizzy kind of opened up the door for me this morning, and perhaps unknowingly, that a lot of people have a lot of things that stress them out, if I heard you correctly, in a generic sense. And the theme today is are we our own worst enemies? And I I have a sense that Lizzie's going to hit us with no, of course not. Just breathe deep and turn the light switch on, and everything becomes okie dokie. I don't get it that way because a lot of people I know growing up, they were blamed for everything. It seemed by their family, by their parents, by their associates. And I don't say friends rather than associates. There's even a phrase now, frenemies, if I'm getting that correct. So are they really your friends or are they your enemies? So could you help me out in this concept? Are we our own worst enemy or is it the world
I,
around us
yeah,
that's imposing?
I definitely think that oftentimes we are our own worst enemy
Mm-hmm.
because I know that I was my own worst enemy for a very long time. So, other people could criticize me and judge me and say not nice things, but it was what I was saying to myself after they stopped talking that made me suffer for a long time. I mean, I
Mm.
was frozen for a long time in overwhelm and anxiety, and I caused disease or disease in my body. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
had vices that I am not proud of, and I struggled, and I wasn't until I realized that that I was more powerful than I had any idea of. You
Well,
know,
so but that's for me. That's that light switch. How did you, with all this negative stuff coming in?
Mhm.
How did you realize that? I mean, what happened?
I mean, I think first that the first thing you have to realize is that you are your own worst enemy. That I was actually the one who was really causing me all this suffering, and
I mean, did you get
in
zapped
order
by
to
lightning? Did you get zapped by lightning
I
one
think
day?
in
And
order to break the chains of that, you
right,
need to first realize what you're doing to yourself,
okay,
and get honest with yourself.
I get that.
And excuse me, um, I think that
But does it seep up? How long did it take in your mind? Let me ask this differently. That the realization happened. I mean, it began as a seed. It began as a blossom.
for my journey, my personal journey was that meditation was the thing that started to free me because I started to see that, oh, just in this moment, like I can actually, when I hear that critical voice, I can simply learn. I was taught you can
Oh,
simply change
okay.
the channel, just like the light switch. But okay, you know what? I'm not gonna listen to you. I'm gonna like, uh, I mean, at first I had to start, it started off slow, where
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, here it is again. All right. And then I'd have to say, okay, I'm going to like kind of see you over here. And it began to like, I could push it further away and further away. Where then I could just wave to it and be like, there you are. Hello, mean
That's
person.
interesting.
I don't like you. You're not going to get into my space. And then again, breathing through that and then to start to thinking about what are my beliefs and are they outdated and are they really true?
Mm-hmm.
Questioning it, challenging the things that I was saying to myself because they really weren't, as far as one of the things about, public speaking, which I had such a crippling fear of. And I was like, people come to me all the time for advice. And so obviously my voice is important, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just one of the things, but
Well, I have a question for you on that. It sounds like initially it began as an escape, in terms of an escape from what's pressing on you, I guess, from the outside, and then it became an issue of realization therapy. Is that kind of the progress that happened with you? That you meditated initially to just get away from everything. When I say escape, and then you began finding additional value when you had this space from the stuff around you. Am I
I mean,
reading?
I meditated. It's, initially I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what it was meditation. It
Okay, that's what I
was,
was asking. Yeah, I can't.
yeah,
That's
I mean, I'm
yeah.
on the floor with all these other people. And then I got up off the floor and I was like, wow. And the meditation actually was about a loving kindness meditation. So where you give yourself loving kindness, which I had
Mm-hmm.
never done. Then
Right.
give you think of somebody who's maybe given you a hard time and you send them loving kindness. And I had a really intense experience with that. And I was like, oh, like I just started to see this person as not, again, they were doing the best they could. And
Mm-hmm.
it was more about them than about me. And I walked out of there and I was like, ooh, like I didn't come out of it with this crazy anxiety. I came out of it feeling just a little lighter. So I
Mm-hmm.
wanted more of that. I just wanted,
Well,
um,
how did you decide to go to your first meeting though? Was it you were complaining and somebody
no,
recommended to you?
it was actually, I felt like I was almost tricked into it because I thought I was going to a week of a spa in the middle of the
Ah,
summer in Arizona. So it was like 110. So we got this very good deal of this place, my friend and I, and I had no idea that it was like all of this mindfulness stuff, which I didn't know anything about.
that's
And
me.
literally the first hour I was lying on the floor with
Mm-hmm.
50 other people, like not, we wouldn't be doing this now, but body to body to body. And,
Right.
and having this experience and again, I mean, I know you say on light switch, but I was like, sign me up for everything that's anything like this. And so, I
Interesting.
mean, and that included like crazy things like jumping off of things and blindfolded hiking so that you could trust another person,
Ah,
all kinds of,
so that's one of those things that you fall backwards and someone's supposed to capture you before you hit the ground
yeah,
syndrome. I see.
one of those for sure. And then really it's about trusting yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I just started to just like feel like living on autopilot, doing the same thing of incessantly like worrying about what happened and what somebody said about me or whatever, and worrying about what's coming up and how I'm going to look and I'm not looking good enough and da, 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 all those things. I just started to rather, be intentional with how I was going to let myself think. And that was also, again, a huge thing that I'd never learned about that
Mm-hmm.
you can, so I just think that we are very powerful, and I just see clients struggling a lot of those same ways that I did, for a long time. And again, I think it's you first have to realize that we are doing this to ourselves, and we can always, if we're in a bad situation, we can always do something. There's
Mm-hmm.
always something we can do about it. We can break the negative patterns. We can break the next step out of the tribes that we're in that are bringing us down.
Mm-hmm.
There's just,
So you're implying that people are never really stuck where they are at the moment,
I think
or ultimately?
people are stuck if they allow themselves to be stuck, because we get stuck with excuses. We get stuck with, you know, um, yeah, not being intentional with who we spend our time with and what, what we allow from other people. And
Well, but let me interrupt that.
yeah,
Aren't people sometimes stuck with threats that if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'll hurt your family, I'll hurt your relatives, I'll show up on your job and get you fired? That that doesn't sound like the person who's being stuck is doing it willingly.
well, I mean, it depends what kind of threat, what kind of threat you're talking about. But there's again,
Well, I guess a threat enough, and it's complicated. I guess a threat enough that sometimes, at worst, they have to ultimately go someplace with they find a shelter that will change their identity and move them to a different environment. It may help them, but it may not help their family members. I guess I'm having it sounds like it's a challenge, to put it mildly, for people who most need your service. To say it like that, perhaps. And so, what I'm struggling with, there may be people who really feel totally captivated about where they are and have a challenge on finding a solution. Uh, and that may be an extreme version. It may not be. I don't know how common it is, to be honest with you, on that. But let me say this differently. What comes to mind, there's a thing I heard that was called leveling, on TV a while back, and it was said by a psychologist. And basically, the theme is, in terms of outside enemy, and let's say I'm talking about you in a negative manner. You're my frenemy, you might say, like that. You're not worth this, you're not worth that, you're a piece of this and that syndrome. And this leveling takes one of two characteristics. Either I talk about you in a demeaning manner, usually in your presence or behind your back sometimes, or I'll say, you're so lucky to have me in your environment. You owe me this, you owe me your life, you owe me your existence. And the theme of this was kind of what you're saying is it's never the object of the or the who's being targeted. It's that person who's hitting you with all this verbiage that they feel insecure, they feel inferior in their own manner in relationship to you. So the only way they can feel more important is by either tearing you down or building themselves up at your expense. So kind of what you're saying, if I hear it correctly, in your meditation is giving yourself enough space to at least minimally to realize that the stuff on you is not your fault, as the world would sometimes make it seem. I don't mean to get too verbiage, but is that kind of what you're saying, of
I
sorts?
think, yeah, and I mean, it does take some grit and and tenacity in order to get to a place where you can recognize and see when somebody else's story is about them and it's not about you, and so that
Mm-hmm.
you don't take it personally, and it doesn't mean that someone's words won't hurt you, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just that they don't stick on you and scar you for life, or
Mm.
and you can allow it to just kind of move through you and just keep going forward towards what what your goals are, and not get caught in that loop of he said, she said,
Mm.
it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel good for you, it doesn't serve us, and it's just, it's not being solution oriented, it's
Mm-hmm.
not being forward thinking, it's not being taking, it's giving your power away.
I hear that. And if I'm hearing it correctly, it's not so much one may have an idea of how to move forward, but minimally, at least you don't want to fuel the flame by adding to it yourself. That they say
Yeah,
I'm bad, therefore I must be bad, or they say I'm awful, therefore I must be awful, or even asking why are they saying that about me, perhaps. And there must be some truth to it. And I guess each time somebody might think that, they're kind of feeding that internal crap that's loading on them.
well, I think that's where for some of the work that I do and I did with myself is, when I do feel when somebody says something about me and it stings, then I have to take a look and say to myself or with my client, is there what about that is hitting you? Like, what about that do you feel is true?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you're not smart enough, say, or whatever, and that's where it's like, you have to then go back and kind of recognize that that's a part of your shadow, or part of your, that you still need to deal with, work
Mm-hmm.
through, so that you don't, stay stuck in that. Does that make sense?
It makes sense now, but I'm going to do a counterpoint now. Let's
Mhm.
say that I say, hey, Lizzy, you are fantastic. you're intelligent, you're smart, you're tenacious, you're wonderful. So does that mean because it's coming from me, you should blow it off? Because it's
No,
whoa, now you're
no,
losing me
no,
now. How come you blow one off and not the other one then? How do you make that
because why
distinction?
not? Why not keep the positive? You know, we all could use a little more of, you know, of tooting our own horn and allowing other people to like, you know, give us permission to shine. Because I think, again, it's like when we give others permission to shine, you know, we're able to shine more. So I'm all for that. Bring it on.
Oh yeah, see now I'm confused. So well, let me do it this way. Then maybe the challenge sometimes is how to make the distinction, because somebody could be flattering to you just because they want something from you, and they're trying to set you up for it, or the people are derogatory to you because they want something from you to set it up. So how does that maybe that's another topic of how does one make a distinction?
Yeah, I mean, no, and again, it's about you know, being being aware, self-aware of wondering if they're trying to manipulate you. You know, that's something that we do have this, again, this inner wisdom that will give us a clue about that. And just
excuse me,
make sure that we listen to it.
You just said something that this will make it a topic. You talk about inner wisdom. My mother was spanking me once. I was 7 or 8. I'd done something I shouldn't have done. And she kept spanking me, really annoyed with something I'd done in hindsight, stupid. And she kept saying, common sense should have told, why would you do that? Common sense should have told you not to do it that way. And I finally blurted it out. I was born without common sense. I just don't have any. So you talk about this self-determination factor. That's going to be a topic, folks. I don't see where that one comes from at all.
Yeah, well, that's you're using that with your mother so you can get out of what it was.
No, I was confused. I was really a confused guy. I had no explanation why I did it, other than I must have been born as a deficit in that part of my DNA syndrome.
Well, that's part of growing up. That's how we grow. That's how we learn, and that's how we develop and learn and grow. And by, you know.
But isn't that what we're talking about, though? Growing up conceptually, mentally,
yeah,
emotionally.
And it's a lifelong process. It's a journey. It's not like we're ever done. I mean, I'm still in the process. I often with my clients when they struggle with something, I'm like, have I fully really, you know, worked that through? So, you know, I think it's not like you're done, ever done. It's a lifelong process of evolving and growing and learning, and that's what we're here to do, in my opinion.
I appreciate that. We're a little bit past our time, folks. We apologize for that. Not quite. We've got maybe 30 seconds. A little bit of a sound commercial again. For those who are seeing this on the replay, please leave your comments. Thank you for visiting us. We do audit the comments even after the fact, and we do try to respond to them. And I want to thank Lizzy for just giving me another topic all over again for the next one coming around.
Thank you, Joe. This was really good. It made me think a lot about just, you know, the journey, and I believe that everyone is here to shine brightly in the world.
Fair enough. Thank you, Lizzy, for that final comment. Don't get caught in April 1st day stuff, folks.
That's right.
That's right. Thanks for visiting us. So long.
Thanks, Joe.